Welcome back. As we were just discussing before the break, the Secret Service is now facing more criticism after a new report says an agent left her post during President Trump's North Carolina event this week to breastfeed her child. Trump's rally was on Wednesday.
Yeah, we just spoke with two Secret Service agents about the former Secret Service agents about that very discussion there. This in Butler, PA. We want to welcome in now Jason Miller, President Trump's senior advisor. Jason, good to see you, and thanks so much for coming on. So we have this number of different elements that seem to roll out after the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Kim Cheadle stepping down, the Secret Service director. There was that rally in North Carolina that we were highlighting, and there was a report that one of the agents stepped off her post to breastfeed, not alerting anyone of this. She had family in a room that she shouldn't have had family yet. I'm still working to confirm that. Secret Service is investigating. They've confirmed that. Did you hear anything about that?
Only from the media reports, but I think really what the issue is here is there is a fundamental crisis with leadership at the top of the Secret Service, with Director Cheadle stepping aside, which, by the way, should have happened much earlier. On the wide go an entire week before that congressional hearing, only then to realize that, thought bubble, maybe it's time to go and step down. But there are so many good men and women at the Secret Service who put their lives on the line every single day. But clearly, at the top, there's disorganization that has to get straightened out, because not only do we have President Trump, we have Kamala Harris, we have Joe Biden, we have all these other protectees who need to make sure that they're okay. And for this to have happened, I blame this on a supervisor. Some supervisor must have been able to step in and say, this doesn't sound right.
Jason, does the president trust that his personal detail will be there to protect him and step up in potential moments of harm?
Absolutely. And the relationship that President Trump has with his detail is very strong. He knows, as we saw from Butler, they would literally put their lives on the line, get between President Trump and a bullet to protect him. But again, the dysfunction we're seeing, I think, are from the suits, particularly from Washington, and it really appears to be a cultural thing at the top in Washington, but I don't think that's reflective of most agents around the country.
Speaking of bullets, there's going to be bulletproof casing put around the president should he have outdoor rallies. We've seen some of that put out as well. So safety a top concern, as it should be, or should have been before, and now heightened even more, moving even closer towards the election. Let's shift over, if we can, to the economy. There's a lot of talk about that right now. Policies that are stated or are not stated. Kamala Harris recently coming out with her economic policy, if you will, or preview. She's going to talk about that a little bit later today. I'm sure you have your thoughts on it, but I wanted to focus with you on price control on groceries, this federal ban on price gouging. Does Trump see any interest in that?
Well, I mean, you see how well that's worked for Cuba, the Soviet Union, any other communist country, Venezuela with Maduro. Price controls simply don't work. And for this to be Kamala Harris's big breakout idea is really quite telling. In fact, the Washington Post, Catherine Rampell has a big article this morning saying, Kamala Harris, if you don't want to be called a communist, don't put forward communist pricing ideas. But I want to take just a quick step back. Let's not forget who created this entire inflation crisis to begin with. Kamala Harris. She was literally the deciding vote to go and pump in trillions into the economy that we didn't need, nor did we have to go and spend. But now to act as though on day one, I will do the following. Well, Kamala, day one for you was 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, great point. There's also been some reporting about how she might distance herself from President Biden and Bidenomics. As we know, the president was asked about that by reporters yesterday. Here's his response.
The economy is going to continue with all those legislation you passed working. In case you haven't noticed, it's working.
How much does it bother you that Vice President Harris might soon, for political reasons, start to distance herself from your economic
She's not going to.
Does the Trump team believe that?
Well, we're just going to cross off the Bidenomics and just write Kamalanomics, because Kamala was right there at Joe Biden's side during this entire time. Not only was she the border czar, but keep in mind when it comes to the Green New Scam and aspects such as this, the anti-energy policies, Joe Biden may have been renting some of that space with some of the more progressive left, the further to the left within the Democrat caucus. But Kamala Harris is the real deal true believer. She wants to get rid of all gas cars, for example. She goes even a step further than where Joe Biden is. But I think they're really doing Joe Biden pretty dirty, not only just with the way that they shoved him out in the first place, but Monday night, I mean, Joe Biden speaks and then he disappears. You're not going to hear or see from him during the rest of the convention, whereas we saw President Trump every single night. They are afraid of Joe Biden, but guess what? Kamala Harris cannot distance herself, whether it be on the economy or things such as Afghanistan, where she said she was the last person in the room with Joe Biden before that disastrous withdrawal.
Great point. We covered that extensively as of yesterday on the broadcast, too. Trump has been very much in the spotlight, very much in front of media, giving answers, answering questions, giving speeches, giving rallies. I'm curious to know, based on the recent interview that he did on Spaces with Elon Musk, it garnered a lot of viewership. There was a big technical gaffe, about 40-minute delay on that. But this is how it was headlined here, at least from USA Today. Jason, if you want to take a look, it says, Trump rambles, slurs his way through Elon Musk interview. It was unmitigated disaster. How does Trump feel, the Trump campaign feel about that interview with Musk?
Well, the interview with Musk went fantastic. I mean, it generated something north of 1 billion with a B impressions, opened President Trump's message to a lot of people who don't normally follow politics. And that's part of the reason why we've been embracing things, whether it be joining Elon Musk or on Spaces or going to things such as UFC fights, a number of things that reach voters who don't normally tune in and watch news the same way that we might, those of us who are kind of in the news or in politics, things of that nature. And we're going to continue to use those, and especially with some of the podcasts and things that we have coming up. We have some really good ones that are either being recorded or in the process of being recorded. We also see President Trump out on TikTok, which is another method of reaching younger voters that he's actually worked pretty well.
Sure. We've seen the Harris campaign on TikTok, too. Jason, when it comes to reaching out to voters who might not typically, vote for Donald Trump, does that mean moderate Republican voters, right, who would have voted for Nikki Haley in the primary? Could we see the two of them campaigning together?
Well, that's what President Trump said yesterday at his press conference, that he would definitely be up for campaigning with Nikki Haley. And I think that's good. We saw just this week Doug Ducey, former governor of Arizona, with a very strong statement of support. Current governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, has said that he'll be supporting President Trump and that we need to do something. But I think there's a really key divide between the way President Trump is approaching this and the way that Kamala Harris and before her, Joe Biden, is that President Trump wants to be the president for all Americans. He wants to campaign and work with everybody, even if they're not necessarily voting for him. But Kamala Harris and Joe Biden look at the half of the country supporting President Trump and say, we detest you. And I think that's a big difference in approach.
Senior advisor to President Trump, that is Jason Miller, joining us live here on National Report. Jason, a pleasure. Always good to see you. Thank you for answering the call.
Thank you both.
Thank you.